Human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased, or welcome to the dream. Let's just say that today because
Where are we?
Shane and Michelle here today talking shift with you. Things are a bit shifty. Uh,
Yeah. Very shifty.
very shifty.
Reality's very shifty.
Really.
Hmm.
And what is reality? Is it a dream? Because it sure does
Dream
feel like,
within a dream within a dream.
yeah. And what are
Yeah, I
these
think so.
phantom memories that people are reporting that don't align with their current reality? These are some of the things we're wondering about. As far as physical symptoms, we'll talk about joint pain, blurriness. I don't know if you guys have had anything going on like that. And what is termed a silent headache? We're going to talk about that. This
Yeah.
The memories and the nostalgic feeling that sometimes you get overcome with, and that seems to be increasing. Maybe memories that don't seem like they're your memories, and yeah, that's what we came here to experience. That's what we're here to
Yeah.
talk about today.
Yeah. Unravel a little bit and yeah, share some of the things we've been experiencing. I think, this month to month is good, sort of gives us a little time to accumulate some stories and experiences about what's going on. So I've certainly experienced quite a bit since the last time we did a show together. Of course, we talk in between, but
Yeah,
I've had a lot going on. It's been
yeah,
very busy. Yeah, yeah. Where to
and
start, even?
yeah, even dealing with loss, and
Yeah.
a lot of that going around too. I lost my mother-in-law like a month and
Hmm.
a half back. You just lost your grandmother,
Yeah.
and so we're sending lots of love to you and your mom. We know
Yeah.
it's tough
Appreciate
to lose
that.
somebody, So, but even with that, there's a beauty that's coming through with the cycle of life, isn't there? Having a
Yeah,
different perspective.
I had some really amazing experiences with downloads and moving through what I have, moving through time these last couple weeks. Um, Gosh, guys, I don't even know where to start. Uh, the perception of an experience that could have been sad or difficult was anything but. And I've been experiencing a real radiance to reality. I don't know if anybody else has been seeing this, but some days, not every day, are glorious. Like the sun is more yellow, the colors, everything's radiant and almost at a loss for words. And it's been like being inside a painting, you know, inside a work of art and experiencing it that way. And the other days, there's something different. The light's more white, it feels feels almost like we're flipping back and forth sometimes. So that's
Someone
been
else
interesting.
mentioned the yellow sun and noticing
Mm.
it seeming yellow more often these days, and
Yeah, and on those days, to me, everything glows. Um,
like the way the leaves look like they're so
every
green and
Yes,
vibrant.
the
Yeah,
colors.
yeah.
Um,
That's weird because we were
Everything
mentioning the
seems to
eyes.
want to engage with you
Y-
differently.
Yeah,
He wants to be noticed. Like everything seems more alive and vibrant and like living art, you know? It keeps striking me as an artist of being, you know, especially on these kinds of days, just getting lost, like looking at a tree and how beautiful it is. And I've always done this sort of in my mind. I start breaking it down and how I would paint it, and breaking down the colors and the shade and the shapes and um, painting in my mind basically. And this experience I've had on these days lately has been of being in the painting itself, like that with painting, we're just mimicking the art that already exists. We're just copying the art that already exists in front of us, with like landscapes. And who is the artist? The perfection and the beauty in which everything is drawn and painted around us. And it's so beautiful that we just try to copy it, and
Absolutely.
and it was like, a feeling of being inside my own painting or a great artist's painting. And the real realization of that. So that's just one way yeah, sorry.
That actually reminds me of my BQH session, where I went into my own painting, and I didn't recognize it, but it was shown to me how when we create, we're really creating,
Yes.
and we see this definite difference between, creating in our mind, but really it's there. It's still consciousness, and this is going to kind of get into the other things we're talking about later.
It is.
That, this feels real, prickly and real here in the physical, but it's just as real when we experience this, consciousness in other ways, in a dreamlike way. Because think of how hard and prickly things are in your dream. It doesn't feel like you're in a dream then. Things feel very real. Walls feel hard, and you know what I mean? And it feels very real while you're in it, and it can get pretty crazy before you start questioning it. I don't know.
Yes.
The dreams I've had when I have to go to the bathroom really bad and there's like stuff piled in front of the door, or I go into a bathroom and all of the stalls look like some kind of weird art and I don't know where to go, and or it's, just weird stuff that your brain comes up with. But it feels so real while I'm in it and I'm just trying to get to the bathroom, right?
Right. You know what? I'll just make a quick note since you kind of brought that scenario up. One thing that I do think is increasing is people's ability to use those moments to create lucidity in dreams. I do think hearing more people talk about that in sort of awakening within the dream state, to be saying, well, hold on a second, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't add up. I must be dreaming. And I think more people are being able to tap into that ability and to becoming lucid. And I do think it's directly tied to this ability of discernment. And it's all part and parcel of us like waking up, right? And integral in sort of what's happening like as we're waking. It's all a reflection, and we're bringing that experience. The more we experience that in the dream and the more we become lucid and authentic in the dream state, the more we're bringing that up in our waking conscious state. Those states are merging together and working together to bring that out. So, and that is why as well that we keep getting these washes, right, of those memories or nostalgia. And we first start talking about this a couple years ago, really. What is that, Shane? What is that? I think one of the initial memories, it started off where it was memories from our own childhood. It started off with that, the washes of nostalgia. You talked about a moment of being in your childhood kitchen.
Yeah. And remembering the little details of it
everything.
That
Yes.
I'd forgotten, like the little napkin holder that my dad would put his mail in instead of using it as a napkin holder, and
Right.
the salt shakers, which I'd forgotten what they looked like, and I could see all of that just like it was yesterday, and it gave me this feeling, And then I had the other one I told you about of me opening the Folgers can, and I must have been like 3 years old, and that scent of it coming out and beating on it like it was a drum, all of that, and it took me, even now, just talking about, oh my God, it's such a great feeling to feel that right now. And I can think about that at any moment. It's so weird how that
and
works.
then just fill yourself up with it. And you're like, what is it? Is it home?
Right.
Like, where's that? So, we started off with experiencing that. And I think because that was like the physical reality. We're not on autopilot when we're kids. We're not all programmed yet. We're more authentically ourselves. Yeah. And we are taking in our environment in a much more sensual way. Like we're feeling it, we're smelling it, we're seeing it, everything, because we're not thinking so much as children, right? So we really lock in these memories that can bring in those welling feelings of just safety, security, home. Like that state that you were in, which was more authentically who you are, right? So, but then we started experiencing for me, and I think for you too, it was like dream memories, right? And for me, it was a lot of, and it became, I can't even distinguish, is it a dream or is it a real memory that floods in this feeling? What am I remembering?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because sometimes you don't necessarily have the memory, right? But you have that
Yeah.
feeling too, you know?
Yeah. And then now going to the stage where, you talked about having this memory of these townhouses that you've never even lived in, not when you were a kid. And you don't think it came from a dream.
Right.
You can't even place, where is this? What is this place?
Right.
What
Well,
is
it
this
started
that
as a
makes me
dream,
feel?
dreaming of it, and I was like,
Right.
so for me, it started like that, and I've heard from other people like that. We'll have a dream
Yes,
about a place, and then it's
that's
all of a
right.
sudden like, oh my God, that dream made me remember something that actually happened, rather than I'm just
Yes.
remembering my dream. Right? There's this weird
Yeah.
feeling about it.
Yep. Yeah. I get that too. Like I've had, but for me, I was realizing that it wasn't like one specific place. I have a lot of like different dream worlds that I've like revisited and,
Right.
um, you know, so it wasn't like one specific place. I've that feeling can come from a variety of different dreams that I've had, and I'm also carrying it consistently in the dreams that I have, like every night. I might not remember the dream and its specifics, where I was or what I was doing, but I know that I'm carrying that feeling with me when I'm in it,
Mm-hmm.
of that, like that place, right?
Right.
Right. So this latest download that we've had, with the full moon that came in, it came in with a thunk. That was the real oomph, like a chunk, real came in, and it was this realization again that it was a higher level of this merging, whatever was going on in this dream world, that place that we created that makes us feel that way, that nostalgia feeling. Well, it a portal basically was opened up for us that is bringing that in like a thunk. So if you have like really been experiencing a much higher dream-like quality or washing over of dream-like feelings or nostalgia feelings, or feeling you can't quite place what is that, or this home feeling, it could feel like home. But I think the thing that I'm most excited to tell you of this realization, of this search of like, what is this place, what is this memory, is that now the total understanding of, it's not where, it's not when, it's not a place, it's I am that.
Right.
What is the common denominator in all those scenarios, whether it be a childhood memory, a dream memory, or this feeling that washes over you that you can't even place what it is, right?
Right.
Where is it? It's not where, it's who, it's you. It's the authentic you. That's what it feels like. It feels like home. Right?
Right.
And it's that realization which has really just escalated that feeling. It's almost, the last couple months, it's been like, I've described it as like a autofocus shift,
Mm-hmm.
where I'll just be like doing something and I'm like just kind of like experiencing this reality, but then all of a sudden it washes in like this overlay of that feeling, and I'm like, am I remembering something? Am I remembering a dream? Am I remembering a childhood experience? Am I having a deja vu? That's the other thing, the deja vus. But what is this? What's going on? And it's like I try to figure it out, right? And then it goes back, and then I keep doing this. It'll go like in and out of focus, So if I pay too much, if I start thinking too much, right, as to what it is and what's going on, it eases away, it washes away, and I'm back to like this experience of reality. So yeah, within these last couple of weeks with this big chunk and this full moon and this understanding, It's been quite a revelation to understand it's not where, it's not when, it's me. Oh, that's me that I'm feeling. That's like the real me that I'm feeling.
Exactly.
And that's what's coming in.
And it's almost like getting out of the way and allowing more of that to come through. And it almost seems to tie in with what we were talking about, different versions of ourselves sort of merging and us
That's it.
becoming more. Okay, so what you just said, what's the common denominator with all of those, right? With each one of those outfits, because we were talking like how lifetimes are almost like outfits we put on, right?
Mm-hmm.
We view them as us, but once you're out of it, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that lifetime as a, you know, an outfit in your closet, right? And all
Yeah.
of the things attached to that certain outfit. But it's almost like when we have this merger of all these different versions of ourselves, that one common denominator is in all of that. So that becomes more as well, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
really feel that merger of, you know, consciousness and the lessons we learned and the paths we didn't take possibly, or we took in a different way or in another reality or timeline, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so the saying that was really highlighted to me with this download, um, was in which I've told you is that your perception is a reflection of self. It's it really is that simple. And you may hear those words, or but there's something about when you take something in, like this deeper understanding of like what that really means,
Mm-hmm.
um that what is being mirrored back to you, your perception of that is really simple, is simply that, a reflection of self. So as we become our authentic self, our perception of reality reflects that. But I do think that this goes to a level that we may have never experienced before, right? Because it's the way it's being introduced in dreams. And what's interesting is I had my first ever sleepwalking experience, right?
Right.
Which I'd never had before, which again introduces this idea, like what we're talking about. It's like I'm having this dream, I get up, my eyes are open, but I'm still having this perception, like from my dream. I'm seeing things completely differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it takes a while to even register of actual like reality coming forward. So you know I I've said a while ago that there really is something going on to this, building our authentic selves within our dream state, um, and we're bringing that into this reality. But with that comes some very interesting things. I think that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg of.
With being like
So
the architect of our own reality, you mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we all are doing some, very different things. So, and so, my understandings of like of what I'm doing or building or working on, I have to say can be completely different than somebody else's uh, point, in this whole process, right? Or approach, or whatever they're doing. So, but I just feel for me that I've been told that I'm an architect in this dream state, and it's building something there, and it's embodying it in here. And that literally that changes the reality, or at least changes my perception of it, which then ripples out into the collective as a whole. Because as I'm experiencing it, there are others, maybe not everyone, but there are others, right?
Right.
And yeah, it's just exponential. So we're all doing that in, I think, a very unique way, is what I want to say. So to leave that open really for a broad range of experiences,
Well, you
and
were
what people
talking,
think their mission is.
right? You were talking about, and I've had some interesting things with sleepwalking, so I know exactly how weird that can be. Like, really strange. So I've had it my whole life, you know, and I'd get up and eat in the middle of the night with my friends. I would tell my mom because she'd see I set up several bowls on the table or whatever. But even as an adult, you know, I was telling you the story about, you know, one of my kids waking me up because I had a bowl of cereal I had made. I was sleep eating, I guess you call it, and I had a tea bag hanging down into my bowl of cereal, but in my mind it was a spoon, right?
Yeah.
It was rigid enough to like scoop my cereal, but it wasn't working, you know,
Yeah.
because it was actually a tea bag or whatever. But it's just strange how your brain can overlay things onto your current
That was the
reality.
really interesting thing. I've never had that. You know, I've had these amazing dreams that were so real, of like waking up in my bed and getting up and moving around, or levitating around my room, or moving around my room, and like thinking they're real. And I've never had like actually getting up out of my bed and still dreaming. Like, and I was perceiving something completely different. I can't even remember what it was. As I became more conscious, like I started to lose the dream. Oh, did I lose you there? You cut out for a second.
Oh no, I'm still here.
We're good. Okay. But yeah, what a bizarre thing to like I had my eyes open, and I got up out of bed, and whatever I was thinking, I was seeing something different than what was my room.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was seeing my room in a different way. And but then like I opened my door, and it wasn't what I expected to see. Like it started to register. It was like having two realities, you know, seeing one sort of kind of registering it, but not really, and having this dominant like dream reality. Like I was seeing something else. I was seeing my room in a different way than what it was. And I had a different perception of reality going through my mind as far as what my reason was for getting up or what I was doing. And and when I open the door and I start to, that's not what I expected to see.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the stairs or whatever, but it still took me all the way to walking downstairs. And then all of a sudden I'm standing in the kitchen and at a total loss for why I'm there. You know,
Yeah.
like, and it's like suddenly became fully awake. Right. And I didn't
You were
have
on
to
a
go
mission
normally
when you're on the way down there. You just don't know what it was.
Yeah, there was something else. And I'm like, and normally if I get up in the middle of the night, it's because I have to go to the bathroom, obviously, but I didn't have to go to the bathroom. That wasn't why I got up. It was for some other reason, doing some other thing. Like, but what a bizarre sensation. I've never had that before. And I just find it so interesting that coincides with just this overwhelming feeling consistently of this like dream-like quality, that my dream, my nostalgia dream reality,
Mm-hmm.
those memories from that place of wishy-washy, wherever it may be, is like now suddenly like where I am, I'm in it, it's real, it's around me. And it has to have something to do with that, you know. I find
Yeah.
it very
Well, most of mine are like I'm kind of like really out of it, so it's like I'm really in the dream world. But I did wake up one morning and I had perfectly overlaid on my walls like these golden glowing hieroglyphics all over, and it was like lined up with my wall. And I remember looking at it and thinking, how is my brain doing that? Clearly, I'm not in
yeah,
somewhere else, but clearly I see this something, and it wasn't even that strange. You know, you would think it would be really weird, you know, but I
yeah,
remember just being like, that is so cool. I wonder how my brain is putting that on there, because I knew I was waking up and I knew it would go away in a moment. And then I even
oh,
wondered, how
yeah,
often does this happen? But this almost reminds me of the thing that didn't happen to me when I was younger, but happens to me now, and that's like seeing through my eyelids, right? Have you had that
right,
happen? Where your eyes will be closed, but then you'll start seeing?
yeah, yeah, not very often, but a
Right.
couple
Yeah,
times.
enough to
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about, right? It's really weird. It's a
Enough to
strange
be like, what
sensation.
is, yeah, yeah, yeah. This, I was gonna tell you something, you know, I can't remember. Oh no, I know. It was because you were saying, it was what you were saying about like, I can't believe my mind is doing this
Right.
kind of thing. And so because I've also had these experiences where I've gone to like lie down and like meditate, because the meditative state is just so yummy lately.
Yeah.
And it's just so easy to access. And like, I almost feel it like pulling me, calling to me, where it's like, just like, don't do anything. Just lay back, just close your eyes and zen, you know?
Right.
And I go into this like dream state, that's just so much present with me all the time, which is that like authentic self, like that just knows stuff. And I like just a couple of days ago, I was lying there and I caught myself thinking this very same thing. And I was so sure that I would remember. But, you know, I realized afterwards how deep I was in this sort of hypnotic dream state, but yet still kind of being conscious and having these like revelations of ideas and downloads and being like, how is my mind figuring this out? Like with such ease. Like I can't, I think I even thought like, I can't wait to tell Shane.
Right.
You know, and I can't carry it over, but there's no worry about that because I know it's in there. The understanding is in there. And in any given a moment of now, if that information is necessary, then it'll be accessed. So, but having that thought of like, wow, like I can't believe my mind is doing all this.
Right. And it is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got pixelated for a second, but we're good.
Oh. I didn't make one of those weird faces again, do I? It always happens.
Yeah, and then it freezes on it, right? It always gets us.
Yeah, like the worst face ever.
I would like to talk about the silent headache thing because I had one night when I was in bed and I had this burst of color that's brighter. Because I normally, when my eyes are closed, I'll see like this really faint, like purple and green and just swirling colors, you know, and it might get organized and be portal-like or blobby-like or whatever, but it's never all that vivid, right? Like the way I'm looking at my bright light here, it's never like that, but it was. And it made me feel like maybe the crystals in my third eye, like, I don't know, sparked or something, right? So I'm like, what was that, right? And
when did that happen?
So this happened probably 6 months ago or something. And I was just about ready to fall asleep. Now, I've been like, I've seen also, you know, I'll get the hypnagogic images sometimes, or you're just seeing a random scene and or whatever. So I've gotten all that. But this was really weird with the explosion of color because I wasn't that deep yet. I wasn't even to the point of getting the hypnagogic images yet. You know, I just had my eyes closed. And then I see this explosion of color. So it made me wonder if that was similar to this phenomenon known as the silent headache.
Right. Yeah. Well, I had never had them before. I only had them a couple times, like since just coming here. And the first time I had it, I was like, what is going on? And Mom said, oh, that's a silent headache. I described it to her. And I looked it up and they say it usually precedes migraines, but I've never had a headache with it.
So let's explain what it is for those that
Well, did you have that picture? Do you remember that one where we were talking about? We found it because it was a perfect picture for kind of what it normally looks like, but it's not what I saw.
Really.
So I'm sure quite a few people that are familiar. Apparently, it's like a somewhat common thing. I'd never had it before.
So it's not painful. That's the first.
No,
one. That's why they call it a silent headache.
Something. It's like in your vision, follows you wherever you look. Like you move your eyes, you see it. It's like if you stared at the sun, and then you get that like light, and you move. So it's like that, but it's also like if you can find that one where it's like looks like it ribs out and has like electric-y rainbow colors.
Yeah, I think I found it here. I'm trying to make it big.
Yeah, there's like it's like a garden with yellow flowers in the front, and there's a white house in the back or something. That was
this is the one.
Had the arc. Has like just an arc.
Yeah, there we go. Now I'm showing it.
That's what it normally looks like, I think.
Without the blurry part, that's.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, maybe other people do. I've never had any blur. I've never had any blur, just light and. Right. But I've had way more than that. Like I had it one time we talked about, I was seeing like symbols and colors and different things. But I had an experience when we were driving back from the hospital a couple weeks ago. It was at night. It was after second visit. So last time I saw my grandmother, we're driving back. It's nighttime on the highway, and Mom was driving. All of a sudden, in my vision, it was like I saw like a letter I, and it was like in the top sort of left corner, like here.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be like if you were looking at like a white eye chart, you know, in the doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stared on the white chart at like a black letter I and stared at it for a while, and then you like closed your eyes. So whether I opened or closed my eyes, I'm like seeing this shape. It started off like that.
And it
like
moves with your
like
vision, so you know it's not actually there.
Yeah, it moved like, and whether I close my eyes or open them and I move, it's always over here, right? And then it started to change. So I'm watching it. So I'm like, there was nothing that I had been staring as dark at. It's just the highway lines, maybe some headlights, cars in front of us, nothing that was bright or would cause that image to imprint in my vision.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started to change and it looked more like different symbols. And then it started to grow and it started to turn into like that silent headache so the arc began. Now, whenever I've had it a couple times before, it's only been on the right-hand side.
Like
I never had it on.
Yeah.
Right. I never had it on the left. So this started on the left, and it started as just this arc, right? Like similar to what you see there. But it became a full circle. And then along the bottom and like all around it, and then along the bottom, it was like a ticker tape moving across the bottom. And I could see like all these like shapes. It was all lit up like bright. It was
colorful, like in the picture.
Like the white with rainbow colors, like on fire, right? And it's all lit up. And in this ticker tape or inside the circle, I can see like the dark imprints of like triangles, squares, triangles or symbols, circles, like moving really fast, like a ticker tape, and around it like this. And it became a full circle. And then it moved over very slowly. So this went over the course of about half an hour. And I just really went into this like deep meditative state. And I was just going to observe this and, you know, feel what it was and just watch what happened. So it became a full circle, rotating. It moved to the center. And then when it got to the center, I got a real light show. It was something else. All of a sudden it split, became two arcs, you know, like that. Mm-hmm. And it was like shooting out in between was just all this, like a shower of color and light, with these two arcs just flaming like white rainbow colors. And it was like sparks of color going in between, really busy. So then it moved over to the right-hand side and boom, went from split to forming a full circle again, and moved all the way across, and then just disappeared and it was gone. And it was just done.
So this whole thing was like a half hour, an hour, or?
Yeah, that lasted about like 20, probably about 25 minutes or so. Because it stopped. Everything stopped. And my vision was completely clear. And then I don't know how long, a few seconds. I was in a meditative state. But I think I was just about to turn to Mom and say something like, that was crazy. You know, like what I just said. Because she didn't even know. I think she thought I was sleeping. But my eyes were open, but it was dark in the car. So, and I was quiet. So then all of a sudden, it was like a spotlight, like a flashlight. And it was in the very top right-hand corner. And it was like having like a piercing spotlight, boom, like right into my eye, into the center of my brain. I could feel it, like a straw of energy going into the center. Right. The light was like it makes, if you've ever had like picture a small bright flashlight, like being shined like right into your eye, like it makes my eye like want to go, you know, right. Just thinking about it. Like the muscles around there were all like, whoa, I could feel it going through. It moved across my vision. It was a bright blue white light, and it had sometimes a circular shape and sometimes a triangular shape. But it just shined right into my eye, into the center of my head, and moved very slowly right across the top line of vision. And it was like being scanned. I felt like it was like scanning, adjusting, configuring, calibrating's the best word, calibrating, making sure that everything was calibrated. I really felt like this portal was a huge download. Like as it did move in front of me, I was receiving all this information.
So you don't normally get these, right? You've gotten them one other time, but they weren't like
I got
this.
one other time where I was like, that was weird. I was seeing like flags of
seeing.
color and symbols, and yeah, I've had it a couple times,
Let's
but only since I've been
You wouldn't
here.
believe what I'm reading. Let's see. Let's see.
Oh, really?
I get those. Brigham says. But they are called an oscular migraine, but they are not painful, but your vision gets blurry for a bit. Scintillating scotoma, it's called. Somebody said. Okay. Let's see. You can't see anything when it's at its peak. Has it ever gotten bad enough that you were blinded by it?
No, I could still see the road. I could still see the lines in the road. I knew I was in the car. It was like having a light show over my vision, or having like a flashlight like pointed right at me. And when it went all the way across my line of vision, like slowly,
Right.
For about 5 minutes. Took about 5 minutes, and it went all the way from one side to the other, and then boom, gone, just off as quickly as it came on.
Right.
And then that was it.
How often does your mom get them?
No headache. What's that?
How often does your mom get them? It's before she gets a migraine every time, or just sometimes?
I don't even know if she's mentioned having one since I've been here.
Oh, okay.
I think it's been a while since she had one, but she has at some point.
Brigham says, my first one, I thought I was dying. Haha. Didn't know if I was stroking or what.
Right.
Let's see. Greenheart says, I only knew what it was the first time because my mom gets them and had described it to me.
Yeah.
And then Brigham says, yes, my mom and brother both had mentioned them previously. Interesting, it's familial, says Greenheart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very
rare.
rare.
I don't know. It was quite the light show.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And I mean, I had sensations with it. That's the only thing. It wasn't just visual. It was quite the light show, but especially with the last light that went across, it was like I had a sensation, like a feeling. I felt like a beam going through and moving across my forehead. It had like almost a staticky, like if something's charged with static electricity and you're not touching it, but you're like almost touching it and you can feel that feeling. It felt like that, like the side, like a straw and moving across. And my teeth were tingling. My throat, all in my sinuses, was like buzzing, was like vibrating, all back in here. My teeth felt like they were vibrating. It definitely had like a static electricity kind of feeling to it. And it had like a pressure. It did have like a physical pressure to it, not painful in any way, but kind of like tingly, staticky pressure in a consolidated area moving across my head.
Like up by the hairline, the forehead, or?
Yeah, like right across here.
Wow.
Right across, and going like on the angle, like directly into the center. And then everything was tingling.
John Benny said, I had a crown chakra migraine this week, like a pressure pushing down on my brain. It was crown chakra upgrades. He wants to know, Michelle, do you feel it was third eye upgrades, maybe?
What I received, I do think it was third eye upgrades. Okay, so what I'm getting is that it's allowing for a greater perception of the authentic reality that is authentic self that we're bringing in, is to see it more clearly. So that, again, I'm being told, like, that's almost like, again, it's a symbolic of why I had the sleepwalking dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like tied in, like you're in this experience that I keep having of like being in that dream reality. Like, whoa, like it's,
Right.
it's like, you know, like this, it's all part of that. I really have to wonder like how much our experience of our perception of like what we're seeing and creating, how malleable is that? I don't know. I think it's just the tip of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's a third eye. It was definitely pinging off my third eye, that's for sure, in the center there, and the amount of pressure and tingling that was going through the forehead as that was going on. But the circle, the larger circle itself, I felt very strongly, I had a very strong impression that it was a portal. That was a portal that was opened up in front of me. It wasn't just any portal, it was my portal.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a real ownership and claiming of this. And then as I sort of allowed it to move through me to understand what it was bringing in, it was a real chunk of what has been built, what I have been building in this dream, in my dream space, which is, you know, deep work in the subconscious is of the authentic self. And it's somehow a gate or a portal was opened, and it's allowed us to bring more of that in. So I do think it would go along with the third eye as well. We're seeing things differently. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question, John. I appreciate that.
Yeah, nice to hear from you, John. Yeah. Hello to John Binney.
Yeah. People are saying sometimes they get the C shape. That's kind of like what you were talking, the half circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that what I found interesting, it was just so much more than, there was a lot going on. It wasn't just this like one little arc. There was
Right.
all kinds of stuff happening. And yeah.
But you were talking about, you know, the architect of your reality and doing this work from your dream state. And a lot of what I'm seeing right now, even in the world playing out right now, is ownership or sovereignty, right? And getting back to owning this reality and the whole idea of starseeds, right? So this idea that we came here to make a change, you know, and I think one of the sneaky little programs that get ran is that, you know, divert our attention to maybe a planet we used to be on and a life we used to live somewhere else, you know, and seeing that as our authentic self. And this is just not really being like, I'm not really from here, so I don't take ownership. But with the starseed idea, right, it's like we came and incarnated in here to give us that right of ownership, you know, within this earth realm.
Right.
And you know, you gave me this picture of like sort of funneling in from the higher dimensions, if you will, higher densities, if you will, and realizing who we really are, right? So we think we're like these 3D, 4D people running around here, but it's like we're realizing that there's more to us. Like there's nowhere we need to go. So you were like, you are it, right? It's like I'm already what
I
I'm
am that.
waiting for, in a sense, right? So we're
Yes.
waiting for something, but we're already it. And it was shown to me how like we're almost like these pillars that extend up through all of the layers. And as we begin to realize it, we are like antenna, if you will. We're broadcasting that ability to just the human consciousness, collective consciousness, if you will. That whole 100th monkey effect. If you guys don't know about that, you should really look it up. But monkeys on different islands learn from each other, even though they had no physical contact. That's basically
right.
Because there is a consciousness we all share that's
right.
connected. Water doesn't separate the consciousness, right?
That's right.
So we're like moving into this, and that kind of goes along with the whole thing you were saying about our reality is our reality. You know, we own it. We need to own it.
Yeah.
And the idea of getting through this rather than just leaving and heading back to whatever planet we came from, or being pulled up into a spaceship or something. You know, it's like a lot of the
Yeah.
ideas of sort of abandoning the mission, I think, are tricks too, right? Bec-
Well, yeah, but I had a good friend bring up a really good point that I, how like can't discount anybody's story, and how much that state still may be true for some, so for me, you talk about like to come from like one place or like one planet and think that you want to go home there. It's like, well, I've had so many dreams, vivid real experiences of different worlds and different beings, and I've been different wars and different ships and different planets, and such a variety of experiences.
that are like outfits, like we were saying. It's
Yeah, I
really
don't
who
feel
we
like
are.
it's just one place, right? I
Right.
don't feel like there's like one place to get back to. It's myself I have to get back to, not get back to home, like to go. It's me. It's me. Um, but that's me. You know, everybody has their own story, experience in this, and in different ways, and really you can't discount any of it, and what they may perceive and how their story may go, and just because their story goes in a way that's like different from yours, I think that was what it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't, how we can experience this separately from each other, yet still as a collective.
Yeah.
We're not tied in our perception to what the collective is perceiving. We are free of that in a lot of ways now. So like, in a sense, then let everybody be free to go or stay or be or not be, and know that it has no effect on your own story of whether you go or stay or be or not be, right? That it is completely up to you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do have to sort of appreciate everyone's perspective and story, which, we've always been like that. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's like just the idea of when you can see these programs playing out in a way that's disempowering, it's like
Yeah.
the story I told you about, or we talked about the waitress, right? You can have like a
Yeah.
waitress, two different waitresses go to a table where the guy's having a really bad day. One of them takes it personally and feels like he's angry at her for something, sort of this victim mentality. And the other one goes and just realizes, whether he's directing it at her or not, it doesn't really matter. The guy is clearly having a bad day or something. I'm not going to take it personally. So you've got like the same exact scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and it's experienced in two separate ways, and science
That's
is
right.
starting to back up the fact that there is not a single objective reality, right?
That's
It's all
right.
subjective for each and every one of us. So really
Mm-hmm.
my thing is like go within and find your bliss and follow that excitement of wherever you're led, because that's where you're going to go anyway. So you might as well enjoy the ride, the adventure. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Since you bring that up, I just want to bring up, sort of tied into that as well, is time. This question too of like, not just that we're perceiving other people, that we perceive things and situations differently, but also as well that we perceive time differently. So even though we both look at the same clock, and you're over there and you look at your clock and it says, right, there's an hour difference or whatever it is, but we assume that somebody else is perceiving time the same way that we are, because we mark it out linear and we share that linear calendar and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, like, if you took away the clocks and the markings of time, and we were just standing next to each other, how can we mark or say that we experience time the same way, like in that perception, right?
Right.
Because that's the other thing I find is changing a lot, is my experience of time and linear time. And so I think that question has been coming up for me lately. I think too, this is coming into the time of year where they talk about daylight savings time. So that conversation has come up with mom, why do they do daylight savings time? What's the reason for that? I'm sure it's not the reason they say it is, because that doesn't make sense. So, this question of time and sort of contemplating this, that, not only do we perceive, our experiences differently, because of reflection of self, but that also that reflection of self affects our experience of time too.
Absolutely.
And I think that gets tied into this process as well somehow, in our changing experience of time. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So it is like, from one aspect, it seems like time is flying, but then, it seems like it's going slow from another
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah.
And it is really like that. We've all often heard, time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
If you're somewhere having a great time, time's going to go by so fast. You don't want it to end. So it's like you're just not wanting it to end is going to make it go by faster, right?
Right.
The way to
right.
make a time last longer is to not have a good time, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's a perfect example right there of like how we can perceive time differently.
Yeah. An hour in a waiting
and-
room seems like 3 hours, an hour at a carnival or something,
Yeah.
you're having a blast.
So I think it's something to contemplate right now and think about. And as we sort of step back from linear time, I think, a lot of people going through the process when you step away from society, and, your things start to change. Definitely your use of time changes, how you approach time changes, and then how you experience time changes. As we get rid of a lot of these programs, mental programs and such that took us away from our authentic self, but we were taught they were in there for survival and how you get through society and life, and going on autopilot and multitasking, how to be a great multitasker. And basically you're working on autopilot. How much we're not present with what we're doing. We're just getting the job done. Right.
Yeah.
So as we remove ourselves from that and start to become authentic again, our relationship with time is changing too. So I think it's really something to consider how that may be affecting you and how you're experiencing that.
Yeah, and the
As
autopilot thing can kind of extend into what we see now with what I brought out in my last video, where I was talking about it's hard for someone to leave the group, right? Even if you know you're right, it's just sort of because of how things were, think about like, when 200 years ago or whatever, you couldn't just leave the group, right? I mean, things are different now because of the way things are, but it's kind of in our DNA to stick with the group, right? So it's like we're having to overcome some of these ancient programs that's running in us right now.
All kinds.
Because it's not always safer to be in the group, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, there are programs that affect every aspect of our life that, we develop through the indoctrination of education, survival of career or whatever it is you have to do to get by in the system.
Yeah.
And and the amount of sort of things that we do that you don't realize that we do on autopilot. That's really one of the things I learned about the difference in those nostalgia memories from a childhood where you're authentically yourself, and how those memories, when they come back to you, are so like luscious, they're so full of like tactile experience, the scent of things, the environment, there's a richness to everything. And, because we don't realize how much we actually zombie out and just go on autopilot through life just to get by,
Kind of reminds me of that movie
cool.
Click. He'd fast forward to the next exciting moment, and he's like,
yeah, that's right. If I can just get to the weekend, right?
Right.
Yeah, just get to the weekend, and then but then you're so busy on the weekend, and it was, a lot of the things that I felt like were the good aspects to put on a resume, like works well under pressure and can multitask and, all those things. It's like, yeah, that's what realizing that's what really keeps you away from being fully engaged in yourself and the actual experience that you're having right now in this moment, you know, not the past, not tomorrow,
Right.
not everything else that goes with it, just simply what is right now, what exists. We become blind to it because we're so busy ahead or behind or forward or
Distracted.
chasing,
Yeah.
distracted.
See,
Hmm.
and that's actually funny because that's one of the things that, I began to view as our superpower, right? So we have our single attention, we have our beam of focus of whatever we're focusing on. Now, this isn't saying go bury your head in the sand, but it's saying that if you're in this wide array of things that you could be focusing your attention on, right? Why focus on, this over here when you can focus on this over here? There's always going to be something you'd rather put your focus on. And it's a superpower because you can't think of one thing, So once you learn to control the beam of your attention and intention, you really begin to really be the architect of your reality, because it's all about your subjective experience and where you are. And you can be you can be in the same room, not only with the waitress example, but even within the same room, you could be focusing on two different conversations, or maybe you're jumping back and doing both or whatever, but you still have to jump around a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Greenheart says
Well,
living completely alone really changes your perception of time. I can totally
yes,
imagine
yeah, yeah. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Squirrel.
that. Why? I interrupted it.
I
Sorry.
don't know. It was smart, but
Let me read what John's saying. He's chiming in. John Benny says, I had a vision this week that linear time, with one input into our conscious and one output, has been replaced with multiple past, present, and future, all into one present moment. That's kind of getting into that merging thing I was talking about. He also wrote, we are quantum universe.
hmm yeah, those concepts of being so. Okay, so here was what I was going to say, which kind of ties into this is that when we stop thinking, right, we start listening.
Hmm.
And when we start re-engaging with our environment, we realize that everything around us speaks to you. So it actually opens up communication to your higher self and the universe. And um, what was once like breadcrumbs, we talked about like those little synchronicities.
Hmm.
Listen, they become like the very fabric of your reality. There really isn't like no surprises anymore. Like it's a flow.
Right.
Um, it gets so much foreshadowing, like I can tune in to what is true right now, and it's easier to see like the themes and the synchronicities, and the flow of and the energies of this reality, and so just be with it in each moment. It really changes that. Sorry,
No,
I'm
it's
really
beautiful.
airheaded today. I'm like
Dreamy.
really,
That's why I said when we went into this,
yeah. It's
welcome
hard
to
to
the
keep.
dream.
It's hard, and yeah, it's hard to keep the stream going. Forgive me, guys. I'm doing my best today.
Oh no, it's been awesome. It's been an awesome time together,
Hmm.
chatting it up. Um, what else was I wanting to talk? Okay, so I wanted to talk about the eye blurriness because it seems like my sight's getting blurrier, but yet I've been experiencing more colors. So it's not all
Mm.
bad, right? We were talking about seeing things. Now this has been going on a few years with the colors and noticing more iridescent rainbow colors like in the clouds and around the
Yeah.
sun and
Yeah.
just here and there, and so the rainbows, all, and then we have all the rainbow Mandela effects that have been popping up or whatever. But my sight
Hmm.
has been, now it could be I'm getting old. I'm right at that age when, you need to probably get glasses or whatever, but it just seems to have gotten worse, kind of fast, you know, maybe over the
Right.
last year or two.
Right. Hmm.
So I
Well,
just figured I'd mention that in case anybody else.
yeah. The
And the
blurry.
joint pain I was talking about. Shoulders. Well, specifically the shoulders. 3 people in my family have shoulder pain right now.
Yeah, it's been really bad for me, but I attributed to all the wood chopping we've been doing around here.
Right.
So, but yeah, I've been having the same problem. So
It's
on
getting
that
cold
side.
up there in Canada.
It's quite the blustery day today. So no snow where we are. I know some parts are, but been stocking up the firewood for winter. So it's been a lot of work, but good physical work being outside. Yeah. Spending a lot of time outdoors, but that's where I've just really been able to soak up this radiance we've had lately. It's been absolutely stunning. The colors and the sky, the clouds in the sky some days. I'm just like, what is going on?
Right.
Is this Japanese anime? Like, what is happening right now? So just amazing. And then other days the light is just like so white and the chemtrails are crazy and
Right.
yeah.
Let's see.
Very
Greenheart says, I have had bad right shoulder months now. Now, I did have that, frozen shoulder a couple of years back, and it, they said it would last about 18 months, and it was about 18 months. So this is more
Wow.
like just I'll move it in a certain way, and it kind of like gets hung, like it's a little, maybe pops a little bit or whatever, John is saying, life is so trippy now. It really is.
It really is. Yeah. I've been having a blast though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels good.
People are glad we're back doing these videos, so.
I really am. That I want to say, like, that was really nice to see so much positive feedback from everybody, just in the comments and stuff, and how happy they are to see us. Sorry, the sun's whiting me out. I don't want to disappear.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were.
I might start to glow.
I was like, man, you're getting your light body. Right
I'm
here on the
glowing
air.
again.
Live, you guys. Only on Unbiased and on the Fence, right?
See if the white starts to come off me. Like, remember that one time a few years ago?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. That might be the neat thing about moving to the window here, is they start to glow again.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let me look in the chat and make sure I'm not missing anybody before we. Oh, yeah. Crazy synchronicities, as always. I do want to mention that really fast, because we've been having okay, so you can look at it as synchronicities, or you can look at it as maybe telepathy, right? Picking up on stuff. So probably the wildest one was just the other day. I was sitting here. I had been meditating, but I heard my granddaughter in the other room, and I started just thinking about her. And then I was like, that was cool when I had her come on the video and had her with me, and then like a moment later, my phone vibrates and I look down, and Pam, Daryl and Pam had texted me and mentioned that video. I mean, literally like while I'm thinking about it. So it's almost like we're connected in such a way that her even thinking about that put the thought in my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It made me think about it.
Yeah.
And just because I had the triggering of hearing my granddaughter in the other room, it like was just enough to make me pay attention to what I was picking up. And I didn't even realize it until my phone went off a moment later. So that's a really good example, because it's like, what are the chances of me thinking about that exact video, in relationship to my granddaughter? Because, I typically would think, oh, let me go hug her, or pick her up, or hang out with her, or whatever, for a little bit. But instead, I just thought of that video, which was weird. Right. And then she texted me about that video,
so it makes you wonder, like, whose thought was it first, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Judging by the timing, I would say that, she had already written the text, and then it popped in my head, because I literally was thinking about it like right then, and my phone buzzes, and I look and I'm like, wow, I was just thinking about that,
Yeah, it's gotten pretty crazy with Mom and I now for stuff. And like, I know when she's thinking about what she wants for dinner. And how many times, like, I'll just go down there and be like, all right, so I'm going to make like whatever spaghetti. And she's like, I was thinking about spaghetti. I'm like, I know you were thinking about spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's like all the time, like stuff like that. Yeah, but see, that's kind of like one of the examples of like what I mean about, like, it's all around, like everything feels like that now. Like, not just the like telepathy, but this like, like, I know things before. I don't know. It's just the synchronicities, everything is just filling in all the holes. It's just it's not just one thing. It's, it's a collection of these different different newer abilities sort of filling in all the gaps. Yeah, like throughout the whole day.
Hey, your mom's chiming in. She says
Oh,
her vision seems to be worse too. Some days everything is blurry, other days it's fine.
mm-hmm.
Strangest thing is when I go cross-eyed out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yep, I've heard
Yeah,
that too.
that's happened to her a couple times.
It's almost like
There's
your
all of a
eyes feel
sudden,
lazy or something. Yeah,
yeah, her eyes went cross-eyed.
yeah.
I don't know where. Yeah, it's just freaked out.
Okay, so yeah, this happens. This has been happening a lot. This is the one that gets my kids, right? They'll like it'll be dropping moments. But Greenheart says I often read a word or say it at the same exact moment someone on the video says it, right?
Right? Stuff
So
like that.
right,
Yeah, that's another great example. That's
yeah, yeah,
another great example. Or like you'll be talking about something or whatever, and it like comes up, it comes up over here, and it comes up over there, and it comes up over there. And
right,
that like that's exactly what I mean. Like that's how I know the themes now, like how I'm starting to like read the fabric,
yeah,
because I can see the connections and those kind of synchronistic sort of things,
yeah,
you know, the same topic, the same word, the same, or the same underlying theme will just come up in a slightly different representation over here and then over there and over there, you know.
right,
Like we were talking about I think last time we were talking about the eclipse of the moon, and when I sent you the Pink Floyd song,
right,
you know, and there was all these like little things, like the song kept coming in my head. And then I just read Dune, and then that happened to be the song that they used in the new movie trailer for Dune,
mm-hmm,
right? And then the lyrics, you know, went with other stuff, and you know, then or you'll find it goes with like other stuff that you're saying. Or you know, here's another example: Mom having the premonition dreams of her mother passing away, right?
mm-hmm,
And I share that with you, and then you have some of the same themes from her dream going on in your experience with your wife's mom passing, as far
mm-hmm,
as having dirty laundry cleaned, right?
right,
And it's like it's not just traveling through my experience. Like I can see how it weaves in every time we talk.
mm-hmm,
There's some kind of interlacing weaving of those themes in your experience as well too.
yeah,
um yeah, and so that's what I'm really finding. It's not like just these synchronicities, these little, or you know, just the little breadcrumbs, right? It's like it becomes like in everything.
it's like fractal, like you see it in
Yeah,
the macro and the
that's
micro, as they say,
it's
right?
like a kaleidoscope,
Yeah,
right? And
mm-hmm,
you see it, you know, it fractals it out this way and fractals, but it's all the same theme.
right,
It's just being reflected over here, and it's being reflected over there, and you start to see how these like larger themes play out. So like with the full moon, I got, you know, a few weeks like just before the full moon, I started feeling the energy coming in. I thought this is really strong, and I had the insight like, well, think about it. What month, you know, more than October is a full moon sort of represented, like, or used kind of symbolically, right? We always see the full moon with Halloween this time of year.
mm-hmm,
And you know, I had a bunch of other sort of symbols step forward, like the wolf, right? And the wolf of course ties in with the full moon. And I was getting as well um the hunters becoming the hunted, um and that tying it ended up being a hunter moon, and then I found it was a hunter full moon, right?
mm-hmm.
So I know that's kind of here then everywhere, but that's what it becomes like it becomes enmeshed in everything. You start to see it everywhere. That's why the numbers tie in. We see all these number synchronicities,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all around us,
Absolutely.
you know. Yeah, these
And you
different.
become more and more aware. I think somebody in the chat was just saying that. Oh, actually, your mom, yeah. With the synchronicity, she's saying that that they've always been happening, but we were too asleep to notice them. And I totally think that could be the case. You
Yeah,
know, it's like
that's
the
right.
universe has always been like winking and trying to get our attention, but we just blow it off because you see it with other people. You know, just kind of
And
blow
that
it off.
and that's really it. I think as more that we like disengage from the programs, become more our authentic self,
Mm-hmm.
our relationship to our experience, our relationship to time, and our relationship to all these clues that
Yeah.
like are all around us. as to what's going on energetically, and because everything has a season, you know, there's timing, there is still timing, but it's a natural timing. There's an ebb and flow to things, and birth and death, and so yeah, you just become more intuitive in that, and less reliant. You're not relying on the linear, the calendar, the old structure. You're feeling your way through this experience more, and listening to it more. Yeah.
Yeah, and watching it all unfold. It really is quite magical.
It is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think everything's kind of a distraction to keep us from seeing the magic in it, you know. But there's always a flip side of the coin. So when we see all of this chaos happening, just know that there's a lot of beauty happening too, and they're just
There
not
really
showing.
is. Yeah, that's what I had such a strong experience of, is that really in every moment of now is an explosion of life. You know, as one thing is being born, a million things die, but in the same moment as one thing dies, a million things are being born. You know, it's not just people, it's like it's everything in our reality. Um whether they be ideas or cells, right? Like there's an explosion of life, and that, you know, birth and death are just a flip side of that same coin. And it's, I really got this experience of this like nuclear explosion in the now of all that's happening, you know, of all that's being born. And yeah, how much death is just part of this whole circle that's happening in every moment of now, like this nuclear explosion, and we're just like in it.
Right?
You know.
It's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah, right now.
Does Zoe want to say hi? Is that Zoe or
Yeah,
Archer?
I think so. I'm sorry,
It's
guys.
been so long.
Zoe baloney.
Zoe's like, don't forget about me.
I know. You gonna come say hi? Are you gonna come say hi? Oh,
Is
Archer
that her
is.
little ears flapping? She
Yeah,
shuts
that
up.
was the ear flap. And we're getting a stretch, a super stretch. Archer, come here, buddy. Come say hi. Oh, see, all I have to do is call over Archer, and then Zoe will come. Come on up. Up, 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 up. There we go. There she is.
Oh.
Super excited to be here. Oh, okay. Okay.
Been so
You gonna say
long.
hi to, you gonna say hi to everybody? No. She's just all about me.
Oh. Taking care of Mama.
Yeah, all about me. You wanna say hi?
Say hi to
Get your
you.
butter? Yeah. This is
Ready to
Zoe.
go outside, huh?
Mm-hmm. You've been good. You've been quiet for a while.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for joining me to hear us today. I'm so glad we could do this live.
Yeah.
And everybody seemed to enjoy it and everything. And I will come back and check anything in the chat and comments I missed, guys. So if you're having any
Mm-hmm.
symptoms or anything happening with you that you want to get feedback, please do put it in the comments below, because other people might read it and say, oh my gosh, I'm having that too, or we can discuss it. It might be something
Yeah.
that is happening. And I don't know how many times Michelle has mentioned something. I'm like, oh, that's happening too. I feel it right now. Like when she talks about the pressure on the third eye, a lot of
Yeah.
times I'll be feeling it right when she mentions it. I'm like, oh,
I know.
I didn't even realize it until you
That
mentioned it.
happens to us all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
So
So
that's what I love about the group, because you guys can chime in with what's going on with you, if dreams are
mhm.
amping up, or whatever trends you're noticing, or
Yeah.
themes, as Michelle was saying. Anything you're noticing, mention it in the chat, because I think it's great to continue on the conversation, and we'll bring it
Yeah.
up
Are
next
you
time.
perceiving reality differently? You know, how
Right.
is it changing for you? And because I'm sure we're all experiencing changes on all kinds of different levels, everybody on this planet right now. So, but yeah, I'd be really curious for, you know, have your dreams changed at all? Your experience of dreams, or how you feel about yourself in dreams, you know, more lucidity or anything like that. So,
Or did you start
for me, that's
sleepwalking?
definitely, what's that? Or sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a very dominant thing. Like I feel my dreams themselves have changed for me. You know, how I feel in my dreams is a very consistent thing now, and it feels really good. And I'm really looking forward to just bringing more of that into this reality. But like I said, I think we all have different ways that we're doing this. Different gifts and different timings and all kinds of different. It's a rainbow of experiences. So, yeah,
Rainbow
mine
of
is not the
colors.
only way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot like surfing. You try to stay on the
Yeah.
wave and go with the flow
Mm,
and really enjoy your time here because,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
I think
lots.
that's it. I'm getting,
Oh,
as you let go of the linear time, you really have a greater understanding of what the flow is.
mm-hmm.
You really actually start to feel it. It just flows, baby. Like it just.
And that is, and that's also tapping into that I am, that infinite part of who we are, the
Yeah.
part of us
And
that,
I'm always flowing. I'm
right,
always flowing
right,
because I am that, right?
yeah,
And you just allows things to like come and go,
mm-hmm,
and like you're not resisting what enters, and you're not
mm-hmm,
pushing, you're not pulling, you're just flowing.
yeah, and it makes the
And
hard times
from one
way
moment to the
easier.
next.
It's
Yeah.
it's like you're not fluctuating as much, right? So
No,
it's like
no.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's not the big like highs and lows.
Yeah, you're not getting
There's more of a neutrality because there's less judgment, right?
right.
Um, the less I sort of judge everything as the higher the view gets, the less you judge things as being necessarily good or bad. You realize, hey, I don't know how things are going to play out. Let's just observe, right? It
Right,
appears like it may be bad, but hey, that's just one perspective,
right,
you know? So you don't get all caught up in making judgments or having to have an opinion or having to make a story about something. You just let things, what actually is happening, move through you, not what you think is happening, not what somebody else is telling you what's happening,
right.
you know and that's the flow.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't have to get all excited, you don't have to get all scared, you don't have to be afraid,
yeah,
because everything just comes and goes.
yeah. There was a few
Mhm.
comments early on I wanted to bring mention because they were asking about things we should worry about. And I just want to be real clear that I don't think we need to worry about any of those things. A lot of those things that we see now have always been there, and they're just sort of coming out into the open. They're being revealed
Mhm.
for what they truly are. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like when we talked about, Eileen and I talked about cleaning out behind the fridge. You pull the fridge out, and then all of a sudden you got all this crap that
Ah.
rolled under the fridge. It looks horrible. So it looks horrible for a while, but you kind of got to go through that to get it cleaned out. And I think we're at this point right now where we're lying low. Things are shifting in a grand
Mhm.
way, but we don't have to wait for the external world because the external world changes as we work on our inner self. So
Yeah, you don't have to wait for anybody or
yeah,
like or worry, just do it now. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Listen, it's not easy. Like this is something I've been working really hard on for the last 4 years.
Letting
You know,
go
when
and
I
going with
when
the
I
flow.
basically quit my job and like took a leap of faith, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to survive. I don't know how I'm going to have money for anything or what plan or make big dreams. I don't know. I'm just going to go with it, right?
Yeah,
And from I haven't known how this whole time how I was going to figure it out. But
yeah,
now it's just like it just flows.
yeah. And when
Like
you
I
needed stuff, it
would
showed
have
up for you.
well, and I never
That's
would have
beautiful.
thought like I could have spent as much time worrying, thinking, and contriving of how I would make it work or how things would happen, and I still never would have imagined how things worked out and happened.
Hmm.
So you can't, as much as you can think you prepare or you plan or whatever it is, well, the best laid plans, it's always that thing out of left field you never expected that you didn't see coming that brings in the real abundance,
Yeah,
that you couldn't think of yourself. You couldn't
right.
plan it out any better. So the less planning you do, the easier it becomes to me. I know that's a scary concept, because it listen, I was a single mom of 3 kids. You got to worry. You got to worry about everything. If you don't, then you're screwed. You have to be accountable for other people. So, I mean, I am at a different stage of life where I don't really have to be accountable for anybody but myself anymore. My kids are grown, so it's easier thing for me to say and do now. Um, so I don't want to be too offhanded about it for those that still have
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
responsibilities to young people, right? But I was just fortunate to be in that situation where I no longer had to be responsible for anybody else but myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I could make those choices and not know from one day to the next how I was going to figure it out and just like let it happen,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, but that's what I've learned, and things just flow easier the more I've let go and released the programs and done the work. I really do feel like it's really starting to pay off, you know, at least
Mm-hmm.
on the abundance level of things, by
Right.
going about things in a different way than I would have strategically done them before in the old way, right?
Right.
Yeah. When you
And
don't know how you're gonna do it.
but part of that's breaking out of the program of how it must be
Yeah.
done too. You know.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too, listen, I don't need the things that I used to need.
Yeah.
You know, I've reduced my intake on stuff, so that's important. There's a lot of stuff we buy and spend money on that we don't
That's so
need. So
true.
the less you can do that, it frees you, it liberates you
Right.
when you don't need those things anymore. Yeah. Anyways, blah, 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 blah.
Awesome. Oh, I was just checking up on the chat. I didn't realize it wasn't scrolling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't miss anything. Yeah. John was making some changes too. It looks like. And... Oh, I missed Dana hopping in here. Hey, Dana. Well, lots of love, light, and unity. We will be back next month to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, do it
And
again.
perfect. So lots of love, light. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. Let me find my
Peace.
right screen here.
Click, click, click.
Click, click, click.